My name is Randall Eggert. This class is Grammar and Stylistics. It's about writing clearly.
Examples. Some examples. In this video, I'm going to be using some writing by Steven Pinker. This is a book that he wrote on writing called A Sense of Style. Now, this particular idea was inspired by an exercise that one of my former colleagues told me about, where she used Pinker's earlier book, The Language Instinct, to do something very similar. The idea is that Pinker is an exceptional writer. He's very good at explaining complex ideas. And my colleague, Mariana DiPaolo, pointed out that part of why he's so good at this is that he is very good at giving examples to illustrate the ideas that he's explaining. So what she said is go through his writing and eliminate the examples to demonstrate just how much clearer it is when you put those examples back in. So this is a passage from his book. If you must use a cliche, why not word it in a way that makes physical sense? And you'll often be surprised, and your writing will be livelier if you take a few seconds to look up the original wording of a cliche. For that matter, you could avoid cliche altogether by adapting other images. All right, now that passage isn't bad. I mean, the sentences are nice and clear, but I don't think that it gives readers a real sense of what he's getting at. Now, the original passage was much longer. It goes like this. If you must use a cliche, why not word it in a way that makes physical sense? When you think about it, the fate of an overlooked item is to fall through or into the cracks, not between them. And the prototypical unrealizable desire is to eat your cake and have it, not have your cake and eat it. It's easy to do them in that order. And you'll often be surprised, and your writing will be livelier if you take a few seconds to look up the original wording of a cliche. To gild the lily is not just tired, but visually less apt than either of the original metaphors it scrambles together from Shakespeare's King John. To paint the lily and to gild refined gold, the latter of which neatly echoes the visual redundancy in the overlap in sound between gild and gold. For that matter, you could avoid cliche altogether by adapting one of the other images in the full sentence. To gild refined gold, to paint the lily, to throw perfume on the violet, to smooth the ice, or add another hue unto the rainbow, or with taper light to seek the beauteous eye of heaven to garnish, is wasteful and ridiculous excess. Now, I think we can all agree that that passage shows why and how the principles that he's outlining work. This is another passage from the same book. Often, first and second person pronouns are not just harmless, but downright helpful. They simulate a conversation, as a classic style recommends, and they are gifts to the memory-challenged reader. It takes a good deal of mental effort to keep track of a cast of characters, but unless one is in the throes of a meditative trance or an ecstatic rapture, one never loses track of oneself or of the person one is addressing. That's why guidelines on how to avoid legalese and other turbid professional styles call for using first and second person pronouns, inverting passives into actives, and letting verbs be verbs rather than zombie nouns. All right, again, I think it's a pretty good passage, and if one of my students wrote something like that, I'd be thrilled, but I'd be even more thrilled if they wrote something like he wrote in his actual book, which goes like this. Often the pronouns I, me, and you are not just harmless, but downright helpful. They stimulate conversation as classic style recommends, and they are gifts to the memory-challenged reader. It takes a good deal of mental effort to keep track of a cast of characters identified as he's, she's, and theys. But unless one is in the throes of a meditative trance or an ecstatic rapture, one never loses track of oneself or of the person one is addressing, I, we, you. That's why guidelines on how to avoid legalese and other turbid professional styles call for using first and second person pronouns, inverting passives into actives, and letting verbs be verbs rather than zombie nouns. Here are some examples of discouraged and recommended wordings from Pennsylvania Plain Language Consumer Contract Act. And then he gives this table of further examples. Now, This is what I really like to see in students writing, is when they clearly explain a concept and then they illustrate it. I find that good writing is often about complex ideas. And if you want to make complex ideas clear, you need to give clear examples. And this is one place where I think college students need to really work and get better at. Because if you can do this, you will put yourself at the level of an exceptional writer.